Hello. So today I'm going to be doing a video about Quentin Tarantino, who is arguably, possibly my favorite director ever. He is. I haven't seen all the directors, so I could be wrong, but I like him a lot. I like almost all of his movies. They're great, and especially Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction have defined generations of movies and violence in films. I would say that he is one of the best filmmakers and great. So, I have finally done a video on him. Okay, let's get to the list. So, this is my best friend's birthday. It's Tarantino's first feature film. Some people think it's a short film, but it's over an hour long. It's about 70 minutes, or in its original form at least. So I consider it a feature. So I watched the 35 minutes that's left of it. So yeah, I can't rate it because I haven't seen the full thing, but. And it doesn't really have an interesting backstory as far as I know. So I don't really know what to talk about because I had no idea what was going on, which is no fault of of Tarantino. It's just that since so much of it is missing, I don't understand what's going on. Tarantino's acting is pretty good. There's a lot of interesting dialogue and stuff that was reused in later films. So I sadly can't rate it, but I don't know, if you're a Tarantino fan, you should probably watch it. So his first film was Reservoir Dogs. And this, unlike most directors, was a critical success. It wasn't a huge financial success until Pulp Fiction came out, but it's still a classic film. So, and probably one of the best independent films ever made. A lot of people say it's their favorite Tarantino film. I don't know about that. I don't think that just because it's older is better than his newer films, but I like it too. It's about a diamond store robbery gone wrong, and it actually has The Killing, which is a movie from my Stanley Kubrick marathon, so he made that, as one of his inspirations. So, yeah, I guess I just can't get away from this. I just can't get away from Stanley Kubrick, can I? I think it's really good. The violence in it, I think, is very appropriate, and I do believe it was pretty unheard of before this time. I mean, it existed, but it wasn't, that common. Even now it's not, but it's way more common now than it was back then. So, of course, it was pretty controversial, but nowadays that's kind of all gone away. This film isn't remembered as well as Pulp Fiction, but I think it deserves to be. It's a very good film. So I give it a 9 out of 10. After the success of Reservoir Dogs, especially in the critical sector, they decided to give Quentin Tarantino the ability to make a movie that was, full. Like a big budget movie, that'd be a big deal and everything. And this is widely considered to be his best film. It has every famous person in it, and they all give the best performance possible. I mean, they got John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Ving Rhames, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, Christopher Walken, even. I mean, I mean, maybe I'm missing one or two of them, but that's most of them. Like, I mean, Tim Roth too. He was in Reservoir Dogs too, so I guess, yeah. I mean, this has really affected popular culture, like the whole way that this is filmed. It's all non-linear. It's become a staple of Tarantino films ever since. And I mean, it was in Reservoir Dogs, but this was his first, like, major film, so yeah. And, you know, I mean, there's really not much to talk about, especially because I've already reviewed this film, but it's really good. Um, there are many scenes that stand out in the mind. Almost every single line in this is quotable, and to this day, there are still lines that, you can quote that people know where it is. I mean, I guess it's not that old, but, like, I'm just saying that this could have been completely out of the cultural mindset. Yes, it seems so recent still. And, I mean, I also think that it's kind of unlucky this came out in 1994, because in any other year it would have won Best Picture. It's just that year had so much competition that it's disappointing. Although from the films that came out that year, I think this was the most deserving, but everyone has different opinions on that. And there are some lines in this film that were started by this film that have kind of gone so far and gotten so popular that people say them and they don't even know that they come from Pulp Fiction. It's amazing. This is his most iconic and greatest film. I give it a 10 out of 10. So this is Jackie Brown. It's a movie about It's a movie about a girl who gets in trouble with, like, the police and gang, and then double crosses them and makes both of them, and then gets tons of money. You know, it's a kind of homage to blaxploitation films. You know, and it's definitely good. Definitely good. I wouldn't say it's one of his best. There are a lot of bad things in it. Well, not bad. There aren't that many bad things in it, but there are bad things in it, right? But it's a really good overall. It's a really good film. It's just, it's not as good as some other movies that he makes. It's just not up to his standards, I guess. I mean, the acting, obviously, is really good. This is the second film that has Samuel L. Jackson in it, so, yeah. Jackie Brown, whoever plays her, is a really good job. And Robert De Niro, people forget he's in this movie. He's great. He's great in this film. He barely talks at all, and he's really funny. So, I would say that this is one of a great films, although it wasn't in the same cultural mind as Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction got into, but it's still a good movie, so I'll give it a 8 out of 10. So this is Kill Bill Volume 1. Now, this is a movie about a woman who gets shot and almost killed, and then gets revenge on the people that tried to kill her, I guess. And it's really good. And this was one of Tarantino's most influential films. People that reference it today. Kill Bill is a really good character. I really like her. She's very interesting, and I think that in this film you got, like, the Chinese, like, Yakuza, the fight scene is really, really good, and then, or is it Japanese? I don't know, I can't tell I don't know the difference. I mean, I do know the difference, I just don't remember which one it was. And then, somebody else who is that, I can't remember. Oh yeah, at the beginning of the film, she kills the this black woman, and I don't remember her name. And so, yeah, it really is the movie. It's really good. I don't know what I would rate it. I mean, it's good. It's really good. The first part is very entertaining, you know, lots of things to consider. I give it, it's almost perfect. There are a couple bad things, a couple bad lines. Mostly it's good though, so I give it a 9 out of 10. So this is Kill Bill Volume 2. This will be a very short review because there's not much different than the first one. All I can do is talk about the plot points that have changed, but really everything is about the same. It's essentially the same film. It's good. I really liked the Kill Bill scene, the one where she actually kills Bill. I really like the emotional connection she seems to have. I really like the Western kind of interesting part in the film where that was pretty good. Although I do think that the girl with the eye patch, I think that she really should have killed him. Really should have killed her, because she could totally come back from that. I'm just saying. But, whatever. So I give it a 9 out of 10, same as the other one. So this is Death Proof, easily Tarantino's worst film. Well, okay. I do think I would have liked it so much more if I had seen it in theaters with the experience that they wanted me to see it with. Because of the way that it was put together, it has, like, it made it look like it was actually in a grindhouse, like, film, or, like, a grindhouse theater. Like, there were intentional skips in the video and like, video and audio problems that were intentional. They really added to the atmosphere. I also think it's kind of hilarious how the title comes up and it says, "Oh, Thunder Road," and then there's a black screen that has plain text Death Proof on it. Which, I don't know, maybe that was like how it actually happened, or maybe how it wasn't, but I really liked it. Anyway, Kirk Douglas was really good in it, obviously. I mean, he's good in, like, everything he's in. He's super interesting. He's the only good character in the film. But aside from that, it's just a standard horror movie. I know it's, like, almost, like, parody levels at this point because of what it's like. And, I guess it is kind of the women in the film make extremely bad decisions. They're all bland, which is, probably the point, because that's usually how old 80s horror movies were like. Old 80 horror movies were like. 80s horror movies were like that. And they were over-sexualized, and there was tons of pointless stuff in there. It didn't really have any of the Tarantino charm in it or anything. It just kind of felt like a an homage to the old films. And I guess if I was a fan of films like that, then I would probably enjoy it a lot more, but I'm not. So, yeah, 5 out of 10, his lowest rated. Gets a 5 because of the atmosphere it creates, and Kirk Douglas, who's really good. So this is Inglorious Bastards. It was a Tarantino movie about Nazis. I watched this before I decided to do this ranking and reviewing thing here. And honestly, it didn't live up to my expectations. It was good, but I think it's a little bit overrated. I would have enjoyed this movie a lot more if I hadn't gone in with exponential expectations. I mean, I think that the film is really good, really, interesting, and I think that the most of it is really good. But the whole thing about the woman who tries to burn down the theater, not the Americans who try to kill the people in the theater. No, it's an independent operation. You remember that from the movie? Anyway, and I just thought that whole plot line was really dumb and boring, and I didn't like that. I guess the first scene in the film was really good. I just didn't. Aside from that, that plot line was really dumb. I didn't like it, and I also think that that there's a lot of I don't know, stereotyping. I know that's the point, but I just because I don't know. It seems kind of like a propaganda film for the Americans. That's what it looks like. I'm not sure if that's what Tarantino was going for, but it felt like that throughout the film. There were a lot of American and German stereotypes, and I also think that there are a lot of good things too, but I'm just, everyone knows the good stuff, right? So I'm focusing on the really kind of stuff that isn't as good. It really drags itself in a couple places. But aside from that, the rest of the movie's really good, right? So I give it an 8 out of 10. So this is Django Unchained. This is one of my favorite films that Quentin Tarantino has made. It's very good. I like the casting. This is one of his best cast films, maybe behind Pulp Fiction, with Jamie Foxx playing the lead role after Will Smith said no. He does perfectly, and Christoph Waltz playing the secondary role, who's also great, and Leonardo DiCaprio playing the villain slaver guy. I think this is a very good look at the Western and slaves. Think the Western genre. And the thing about Westerns is that even though most of them take place before or during the Civil War, they don't ever talk about the actual fact that there were slaves. They never talk about that. So I think it's very interesting that there's a movie about slavery. I think that's great. And this is one of the best Westerns I've ever seen. Most Westerns are extremely boring, so I really like this one. I also think that this is... Christoph Waltz gave a great performance, considering that last movie he did was... at least the last movie he did with Tarantino. He was playing the villain. So I give this film a 10 out of 10. So this is The Hateful Eight. This was one of the only Tarantino films I had. Well, I mean, actually, there are a couple Tarantino films I hadn't seen before I did this marathon. This is one of them. This is the only recent one that I hadn't seen before I did the marathon. Because I didn't really think I would actually want to watch it, and yeah, that's true. It's not as good as I think it could have been. So I think what's the best way that they do it is in Netflix. It's a TV series where they split it into like 4 parts, and I think that you should watch that one because I think that is way better. Because I feel like this would have been done better as a miniseries instead of a movie because it's put into several chapters. I know that he's a fan of nonlinear storytelling, but this is one of the ones that I think is most would benefit most from being a anthology series it's not really an anthology series, but you know what I mean, in a TV show. It's very enjoyable seeing Samuel L. Jackson and Kirk Douglas in, the same movie, and I think there's lots of good movies, there's lots of good points, lots of good questions, but it does feel like it's kind of exhausting, so I will say it's good. So I'll give it a 8 out of 10. So this is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The name is obviously a reference to I don't remember which director did it, but Once Upon a Time in America and Once Upon a Time in the West, and that kind of thing. I think this is definitely the ultimate love letter to 60s, or I think it was the 60s. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was the 60s, though, because I'm not good with timelines. A 60s film. And I definitely would say that this is great. Yeah. But, obviously there are some, things, but most of all, it's a great film. Definitely worthy of watching. I think, of course, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio are well cast. Definitely. And it's definitely the best movie about an alternate timeline where the Mansons don't get killed. Where the Mansons don't kill Sharon Tate, that came out that year. It's a lot better than The Haunting of Sharon Tate. I mean, probably. I do find it very enjoyable, and I do like how Quentin Tarantino doesn't kind of go over the implications of racism, as one of his best, and I would recommend it. So I give it a 9 out of 10. All in all, I think that Quentin Tarantino is one of the most talented directors alive right now. And I think that he has not made a true bad movie yet. I mean, Death Proof is close, but not truly bad. This is more of whatever. It doesn't matter. But he really, people say he's overrated, but I don't think he is. I think he's one of the best directors alive right now. Maybe even the best. Definitely my favorite director alive right now. I'm not sure about my favorite director ever, because Kubrick is really good, but Kubrick's dead. So, of directors alive, Tarantino is my favorite. I'm not as a person. As a person, he's a moron and a rude guy, but as a film director, he's really talented. So if you are think that you can handle, like, if you're old enough to handle the kind of violence, then I would really recommend any of his movies, even if you think you wouldn't like them, because trust me, you will. They're all good. And if you watch Pulp Fiction and you didn't like it, then watch one of his newer movies, because they're different and also good in their own way. So I really like him. So, this is my ranking, if, you're interested.